Okay, we are going to learn how to solve proportions. And basically we have been doing this when we go from one ratio to a unit rate ratio. We know that those two ratios are proportionate to each other. They are equivalent because they are equal to each other. So we've been doing this when we have been trying to find the unit rate. We're just going to take it a step further now. So how do we solve a proportion? Well, there are three different ways that we're going to look at to solve a proportion. The first way is if to use a scale factor. Now, what is a scale factor? A scale factor is a number that we would multiply or divide one ratio by to get the second ratio. Simplifying fractions, we use a scale factor. Finding equivalent fractions, we use a scale factor. So if I gave you an example of 2/5 is equal to 6 over n. So we're going to start using variables now to take the place of the number that we're looking for. We're not going to leave it as a blank space. We're going to use a letter that's going to represent what we're looking for. So if I wanted to use a scale factor here, I can look at my numbers that I have across from each other. So I have 2 and 6. So I know that I can multiply by 3 to get 6. Therefore, I can multiply by 3, and n is going to equal 15. So look to see if you can multiply an even number, a whole number, times the ratio in order to get the next value. So I can take 2 times 3 and I can get 6. So therefore 5 times 3 has to equal 15. So we'll try another one of these. Let's do 6 over 7 is equal to n over 35. Now, because these two ratios are equal to each other, we can put them on either side of the equal sign, whichever makes it easier for us to solve it. So I'm looking at the two values that I do have available, 7 and 35. 7 times 5 is equal to 35. Therefore, 6 times 5 is going to equal 30. So n is equal to 30. Okay, that's the easiest way, and not always the way that's going to be available to you, but if it is, it's the easiest way to solve a proportion. All right, the second way is to simplify a ratio and then use scale factor. So if we can simplify the ratio, and then if that allows us, we can go ahead and use a scale factor. So if I have 6 over 15 is equal to n over 25. Okay, so the two numbers that are across from each other is 15 and 25. If I look at 15 and 25, there's nothing that I can multiply 15 by other than a decimal to get me to 25. I don't want to deal with decimals. I want to multiply by a whole number. But now I'm going to look at that 6 over 15. Can I simplify 6 over 15 and maybe then I could use a scale factor? And the answer would be yes. I can divide both of these by 3 over 3. So 6 divided by 3 would give me 2, and 15 divided by 3 would give me 5. Now, if I look, I can go from 5 to 25 using a scale factor. So that would be times 5, and then 2 times 5 would give me 10. N is equal to 10. So we'll try one more simplifying. So if we have n over 16 equals 3 over 12. All right, now it's really important. You've noticed that I've put arrows, and we did this when we were doing unit rate. There is a reason why we're doing that, okay? Because you're telling me which direction you're multiplying in. So here I know I'm multiplying towards the right to get 25 because I put my arrow heading from left to right. It's a reason we do that. Okay, so now I'm looking here and I know I can't multiply a whole number by 12 to get to 16. But can I simplify 3 over 12? And maybe that would allow me to use a scale factor. The answer would be yes. So if I take and divide both of these by 3 over 3, remember it's a fraction, then I would end up with n over 16 equals 3 divided by 3 is 1, 12 divided by 3 is 4. Now I can go from 4 to 16 and I would multiply by 4. Notice my arrow is going in the other direction. Therefore 1 times 4 is going to equal 4. So n is equal to 4. Okay? So those are the two easiest ways to use. But what if that method or that strategy is not available to use? What is the go-to? Okay, so the third strategy is to cross multiply. Did I put that 1 and 2? Yes. Okay. So our third strategy would be to cross multiply. Okay, this is probably the one that you're going to use most. All right? So we'll jump right in and I'll explain as we go along. So if we have 5 over 9 equals n over 50. All right, I'm looking at my numbers. I'm looking from 9 to 50. There's not a whole number that I can multiply by 9 to get to 50. I cannot simplify 5 over 9. They don't share any factors in common. So what is my third strategy to use? We are going to cross multiply. So we know that these two ratios have to equal each other. So I'm going to multiply 5 times 50. And I'm going to multiply 9 times n. So 9 times n is going to give me 9n. And then I'm going to multiply 50 times 5. I will have 9n is equal to 250. Now at this point, you have to divide both sides by 9. So basically what we're doing is multiplying the two numbers that we know and dividing by that third number. So I'm going to divide both sides by 9. Okay? And then n is going to equal, now you can do fraction form or you can do decimal form. I would probably keep it in decimal form. So I would get 27 7/10 repeater. Remember that repeater bar means it goes on forever and ever. Okay? We're going to set up 2 more of these just so that you can see and practice. So let's do 7 over 9 is equal to 15 over n. Now once again, I cannot go with a whole number from 7 to 15. And I cannot simplify 7 over 9. So those first two strategies aren't going to work. So now we need to do our cross multiplying. I like to put my variable first. So I would do 7n is equal to 9 times 15. 7n equals 135. I'm going to divide both sides by 7. Those will cancel out, and I'm left with n equals 19 29/100. Okay, I want you to try to round that to the nearest hundredths, so 2 decimal places. And again, I know you're using your calculators, but you still need to set it all up. You can't use a calculator and just give me n equals 19 29/100. No. I need to see the work all set up. All right, one more. if we take 8 over 11 equals n over 25. Now always go through your options. I cannot go from 11 to 25 with a whole number. I cannot simplify 8 over 11. They don't share any factors in common. So that leaves me with cross multiplying. So that would be 11n equals 8 times 25. 11n equals 200. I'm going to divide both sides by 11. N is equal to 18 and 18 hundredths, repeating. Okay, that is how we're going to solve proportions. You have 3 different strategies that you can use. One of them is probably the one that you're going to be using the most, and that is that cross multiplying.